Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to be demoing a glazing technique. This is quite different from what we did last week with the wet into wet. I have a drawing here, 3 objects, which I've encouraged you to do. It's going to be pretty simple. Here's my palette. I am starting a mix of burnt umber and French ultramarine. That's the only color I'm going to be painting with for most of the painting until the very end. You don't have to start with these 2 colors, but I like this because it can get very dark and I want to be able to have a wide range of values. Also, it's pretty neutral, so when I glaze over the top of it, it's not going to affect the other colors too strongly. So I've started in hitting my darks. I am not wetting the paper down first, only because the more I wet the paper down, the less the paper is going to, it's going to pill up more basically with every layer. And because this is a glazing technique and there are going to be multiple layers, I'm trying to expose the paper to as little water as possible. So I'm going in here with my darks and thinking about the cast shadow that's happening on the mug. It's a square mug, not a round mug. If you guys thought my drawing was crappy, that's really just actually a square mug. You can see the cast shadow that's caused by the single light source hitting the handle of the mug, and that cast shadow is going to have a hard edge because it's a cast shadow. I'm going into my little frog sugar holder here, and once again, I haven't put water down already. I could have if I was. That would be really nice to keep the edges soft, because most of the shadows on this guy's mostly form shadows, which means that those are going to be soft edges. And of course I have sped this up, but you can see I'm just painting as if I couldn't see any colors at all. I'm basically painting a grayscale under painting. This is similar to any technique that you might do in an oil painting class. The old masters used to do this a lot. You can see my cat gets in there sometimes. So I'm just putting in details around the spoon, I'm dropping in darks, and I'm painting in the cast shadows from the mug. Thing about cast shadows, and you'll see as I'm adding them in behind the frog as well, whenever you have a single light source, your shadows should always be the same value. Don't make one shadow darker than the other. In fact, I'm probably going to come in here and fix that, because right now it kind of seems like the cast shadow from the mug is a little bit darker than the cast shadow from the frog, and that just doesn't happen in real life with a single light source. So yeah, you can see I'm coming in there to fix that. And I'm also just dropping in darker darks in different areas that I can see in front of me. I really want the value pattern to be really strong here. It's nice, I don't have to worry about the local color, meaning the color of the objects in front of me, when I'm using this technique. All I care about is what's light and what's dark. So I'm coming in here now with a smaller, thinner brush, and I'm just lining in some of the very, very dark darks. You can see I've reserved some white highlight on the nose of the frog there, and around the lips of the frog, and in some little other areas that have highlights. These are both pretty reflective objects, so they're going to have some little sparkly white areas. So I'm just coming in with a liner brush and working in some details. You can really get detailed with this because the paper is dry, mostly. The lines that you put in, with some exceptions, are going to stay where you put them. I'm working in on the spoon here, just kind of reserving some of those highlights, those reflections, but working in some of the darks. Still just working on this grisaille or grayscale. And coming in and pulling out some areas if I think I need them to be lighter, I can still do that. And then if I ever feel that something is too hard, like when my cat came in there for a second, she screwed some stuff up. So yeah, here she is again. I'm having to fix a few parts, and you can see I continued that cast shadow onto the frog there because I felt that it didn't look realistic enough because the cast shadow should have fallen onto the frog. Okay, so now I'm starting, after I've let the whole thing dry, I'm starting to mix the color of the mug. And because it's dry, I am able to drop that color in on top of the grayscale painting that I've done underneath it without screwing it up. So, oh, and I keep remembering that I have to prop it up because you really, really want a small angle to the paper so that the water doesn't pool in weird ways. So I've laid down a little bit of alizarin crimson and cadmium on top of the mug. And because the frog is green, I'm mixing a lot of spring green, some hooker's green, I think a little bit of some blue in there as well. And now I'm just laying that down on top of the frog. At first, this can look a little bit fake, but I think by the end of it, it really will have a nice look to it overall. Okay, so I'm filling in the spoon with a little bit of kind of a yellow-green mixture. And now I've let that all dry again, and I am mixing a background color. So I've started with a yellow ochre and lemon yellow mix. I might change my mind about this, maybe make it a little bit darker. I think I'm going to add some alizarin later here. And once again, I haven't wet the paper down before I did this, which is going to leave me with a few kind of streaky areas. I'm not so concerned with this here, but you might be, and in that case, you might just wet the paper down first before you put the color in. So I'm working around the objects. I'm including that color. See, I've put some alizarin in there as well because I like it. It's a little bit warmer. I'm dropping in that color on top of everything except for the objects. This includes the cast shadows that the objects are creating because that is going to fall down on that table, and I want those cast shadows to have the same hue as the local color of the table that I'm painting in. And now I'm just going in and I'm pulling out some of those highlights because I've kind of masked them out a little bit with the color and I want them to be brighter. In fact, when I'm finished, I put a few little drops of just white gouache on top there so that it would be even brighter. Now, this technique could even be more effective if you used some masking fluid beforehand and kept those whites pure white, and that would make it even more reflective. It would make the objects look even more reflective. Okay, that's the basic tutorial on how to do a purely glazed painting. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.